Hey y'all, it's Jenny. I've done quite a few videos, as you know, but the one thing, and I've always been very helpful towards other survivors and shared about myself, but the one thing I've never done and I've never thought about doing until someone told me that maybe it'd be a good idea, and I thought, yeah, that's a really good idea. But I didn't think I was ever ready because I myself has never been to a support group. But y'all are my support group. Whether you know it or not, you are my support group. As a brain injury survivor, it is important to me to talk to you. They suggested that I share, like you would at a support group, share how I became a brain injury survivor. And I thought, I've never done that. That's something that's really personal. I've never cracked that veil and been that open. So here goes. On May 10th, 2007, almost 10 years ago, I was drunk on, like I usually was back then, because I used to be a hardcore alcoholic, and I was on too much prescription medication. That's all I know for sure, because I don't remember anything before my injury. I fell out of my second story window, rolled down the front roof onto the sidewalk on my left side, flat on my side. No outside injuries except my elbow, it got bloody. I was home alone. My ex-boyfriend had found me on the sidewalk and thought I had just had another seizure, because I used to have seizure disorder, and called two friends, and they picked me up, which I shouldn't have been picked up because I had a lot of broken bones. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But they carried me while they were drunk through a long hallway, up a long narrow hallway stairs, and around the corner and through a long hallway over to the bed, and plopped me on the bed. I guess the guys left, I don't know, because I was unconscious. But sometime during that period, I started having trouble breathing. And so he called 911. Well, they came out and they took me out of the house on a stretcher, I assume, over to the park where there was a halogen light. Now, this was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's an ambulance out there. So I was in the city, and I know all my neighbors, because they were really into finding out what was going on, were probably watching. So they examined me and found out that it was probably a punctured lung. So they did whatever they needed to do, and they organized that I needed to be life flighted. It wasn't going to the hospital. I needed to be life flighted to Lehigh Valley Hospital, to a level 1 trauma brain hospital, because it was something very serious. Well, they took me to the hospital. It turned out, and they called my mama. This is just what I've been told, because I never was conscious again for another three weeks. I broke my neck, 5 ribs, one of them puncturing my lung. I broke my pelvis in 3 places. I ruptured my bladder, all pieces. I got a severe traumatic brain injury. I had diffuse axonal injury, like a shaken baby, as well as the shearing. I had severe bleeding, hemorrhaging in the brain, and swelling. I was in a deep coma of a Glasgow scale of 3, which is the lowest you can be and actually be alive. I also broke a bone underneath my eye, which is considered a trap door, but they didn't know about it at the time. It clicked open. The muscle of my left eye got trapped inside when it clicked back closed. So the muscle to my left eye is always trapped. If you look at my eye and I look up, it doesn't move at the same rate. But anyway, so my vision is blurry. When I look up and down, I have blurred vision because my eyes don't move at the same speed because of a trapped muscle. So I went into surgery. They repaired the they made sure the pelvis was okay. I guess they undid, they took care of the rib that was in my lung and inflated my lung. On the life flight to a hospital, I went into 2 cardiac arrests. They were able to get my heart back to regular rhythm and save my life there. So So I almost died twice on the way to the hospital. But they had a choice of doing mesh to put my bladder back together, but they didn't. They surgically put it back piece by piece to put my bladder back together. Thank God. Because I heard the mesh has really been causing a lot of problems. But I have a scar running from around my belly button, like a little question mark, and then all the way down my abdomen from the surgery there. When I woke up, I wasn't supposed to wake up at all. This last surgeon came out and told my mom, we've done all that we can. Now it's in God's hands. In other words, he didn't think it was going to do any good. But my mom was like, okay, we'll just wait and see. And she went and she prayed and prayed, and she visited almost every day. Now she's like 86 years old and she does not drive. So it was hard for her, and it was 45 minutes away. But she stayed, and 3 weeks after, while I was still in ICU with a breathing tube, I struggled to take my first breath. And they'd even told her on several occasions that it might be a good idea for her to make arrangements, if you know what I mean, funeral arrangements, but she refused. I struggled to take my first breath, so they took me off of life support, and I was able to breathe on my own, but I was still in a vegetative state. So they kept me there in ICU. From there, after a while, I don't know when it was, because I don't really know what was going on. From there, I was moved to a rehab hospital, Good Shepherd, in, I'm not sure if it was Reading or wherever. And I was there for 2.5 months. Somewhere along the line, I woke up and I thought I was being held hostage. I was tied to the bed. I had a neck brace, so I couldn't look around. I was in the dark. I could just barely see the door open. I thought in my mind, I was screaming out loud, I'm being held hostage, this is against my will, you know, all that stuff. But I don't remember any of that, if I could even talk at that time. I just knew that I felt like I was being held hostage. I didn't understand anything that was going on. When I was in the dark, I was scared. From there, eventually, it took 2.5 months before I was allowed to go home. But during that time, I was only moved around by wheelchair. I had a catheter for urine. I had a feeding tube. Eventually, I was able to start eating the mush, which all was yucky because I couldn't taste it. I also wasn't allowed to drink water, only Ensure, that thick, yucky stuff. And I remember I did bite a nurse, because they would bring those brushes, the sticks with the brushes, and they put water in it, and they do the thing to clean your mouth. I was so thirsty for water, I ended up biting a nurse's mouth because I wanted to suck that thing dry of every bit of water it had. That's how much I wanted to drink. But I wasn't allowed to have water because they were afraid it would make me choke. But I never had a breathing tube in my neck. I just had the breathing tube down my throat. So it took 2.5 months, but they said I would never walk, but I walk with a cane when I'm out of off the porch. But in the home and on the porch, I don't walk. I don't use a cane. I walk. I'm a little bit wobbly, and I hold on to the walls if I need to. But I walk, and you know, they said I would probably. Even after I woke up, they said you might need to make arrangements for a nursing home, which means warehouse me. And I live alone. I'm independent. I pay my own bills and stuff. So I love keep proving I'm wrong, but that's how I got to be a brain injury survivor. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it because that's me, and I don't lie. So that's my nitty gritty, and that's the beginning of how I got from there to here. Hugs, y'all. Later, Gators.